A warm welcome to your Barbados Today News Update for Tuesday, December 14th. Prime Minister Mottley has strongly condemned vigilante acts of justice, describing them as unacceptable in Barbados. In recent weeks, there have been several worrying daring homicides, including the stabbing of 27-year-old Shanice Miller in Bridgetown, the unnatural death of Rommel Tyson Jones, whose body was found near the Three Houses River last Friday, and on Saturday, 22-year-old Rico Alkins was killed at Lears St. Michael. Making no specific references, the Prime Minister, during an address to welcome more than 400 new justices of the peace on Monday, slammed the notion that people could take the law into their own hands.
Whether the violence is original violence or vigilante violence, it is unacceptable in our landscapes, because let he who is without sin apparently also cast the first stone. But above all else, the law does not give you the right to impose your version of justice on other persons. That is why the police court and the courts exist, in order for us to have a transparent system that is above all other considerations of partiality. And that is why the oath which you just took speaks about acting without fear or favor. And it is critical that you remember this.
In the face of strong criticism, Leader of Government Business in the Upper Chamber, Senator the Honourable Jerome Walcott, vigorously defended government's Debt Settlement Arrears Bill. During last night's debate, he took on the critics and made clear that government was seeking to settle its obligations.
In September 2018, we were going through restructuring. We discovered then that there were approximately, I believe, $1.9 million, that was the estimate then, of outstanding arrears. $1.9 billion, of which almost 250 million, Mr. President, were unpaid national insurance contributions for public officers between 2015 and 2018 by the last administration. Not a word I've heard of condemnation. Not a single word. This government is trying to say that. In October 2018, this Honourable Chamber approved the Debt Holder Approval of Debt Restructuring Act and introduced Series F bonds to settle outstanding arrears. Mr. President, those Series F bonds had an issuance date of October 21st, 2018. Their final maturity, 30th of September 2022. The interest, nil. Principal repayment, payable in 42 equal monthly payments. And they had a natural disaster clause. Same as these. Yet, the world is going to disappear. Barbados is going to become annihilated. The government doesn't intend to pay anyone. The same thing we agreed to. The letter has been changed from F to J. But all of a sudden, there is all of this consternation and worry.
Senator Walcott also rubbished the idea that the bill would affect the payment of gratuities and pensions to the island's public servants.
There's been much crying and angst and anger and thoughts and I almost said hypocritical criticism. And this matter of this is how public servants will be paid. They're not going to get their gratuities. They're not going to get their pension. Nothing could be further from the truth. A government that has honored all of its commitments, its current liabilities. Mr. President, we have been paying these arrears while meeting our current liabilities. And to be told that we are doing this as a way of somehow shuffling away from our responsibilities, and we're going to create a system where all of your gratuities and everything are going to be paid by bonds. Absolute rubbish. And the persons who are saying so know so too. They cannot bring a shred of evidence to show that this government has done such.
Financial institutions are pleased with the passage of the Fair Credit Reporting Bill, which they suggest has been a long time in coming. That's the view of Managing Director of CIBC First Caribbean and former President of the Barbados Bankers Association, Donna Wellington, who told Barbados Today that a credit bureau has been up and running since July 2019. There are at least 13 institutions that are currently in the credit bureau, 5 commercial banks, 6 credit unions, and 2 small or microfinance organizations. Wellington stressed that the credit bureau allows for a level playing field with respect to credit reporting.
All good stuff when it comes to moving Barbados forward to a better and a more financially inclusive situation. As we get more and more people into the credit bureau, more and more persons who are willing to give their credit information, what that will mean is that people that don't have debt but do pay bills will have a basis upon which they can get debt if they wish it. So all very positive things arise out of credit reporting.
A local bank has put its party money to other use. CIBC First Caribbean has donated $100,000 it would have spent on its annual Christmas party to 2 charities. On Monday, the bank's managing director, Donna Wellington, presented a check for $50,000 plus an additional $10,000 to Jabez House during a ceremony at its Warren's Great House headquarters.
It can be no easy task to take in those who, from parts of society, who have been more or less rejected and work with them, teaching skills which allow them to provide their family in a different way, and rebuilding self-esteem. All the work of your organization. Truly a noble calling.
The CIBC FC head also commended the legendary work of the Salvation Army that received $50,000.
We may not be able to go there and cook a meal or help serve, but we can certainly supply them with clothing and make a donation where we can. The recent stories in the media of the theft of red kettles filled us with some anger to think that someone would steal from an organization that does so much good for people in need.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Hi, my name is Michelle Thompson. I'm a visually impaired person. I am also a member of the National United Society of the Blind of Barbados. I am vaccinated. I took the vaccination due to the fact that I am diabetic, I'm asthmatic, and I also have high blood pressure. I had no side effects. Everything went calm and smooth, as my doctor said it would go. Please, people, go ahead and do the right thing.
Let's roll up our sleeves and get back to living.
To regional news, the Bahamas' transition to a republic is not on government's agenda at the moment, but according to Press Secretary Clint Watson, if Bahamians press to move in that direction, government will oblige. Discussion on the Republican status was reignited after Prime Minister Philip Davis visited Barbados last month to witness the island's transition to a republic.
This has been an ongoing discussion since 1973. The next phase of our independence, you've heard many members of you've heard a member of the cabinet speak about his push to see it happen personally as an individual. It is not a conversation we've heard a lot of in recent years until we saw what happened in Barbados, but it's obviously in the hands of the Bahamian people to decide. It's not on our agenda right now. However, the Bahamian people can change that if they determine this is what they want to do. It will have to be something that the Bahamian people request and put on the government's agenda. There is a process that's different from Barbados that we have here in the Bahamas as far as how that would happen. It's a little more cumbersome than what Barbados had to go through. Based on our constitution, it will require 2/3 of Parliament agreeing to it, and then it requires a referendum for the Bahamian people that has to be unanimously agreed to. So there is a process that's quite different from Barbados that we would have to go through for that to be considered. But that will have to be driven by the people, and it's not on the agenda at this time. And Prime Minister has made it clear that if the people press for it, then it could be considered. But he has no particular view on the matter at this moment.
On the international front, rescue teams are still feverishly searching for survivors following a barrage of tornadoes that tore through 6 states, killing at least 74 people in Kentucky.
This is all that is left of what used to be a candle factory. 110 employees were trapped inside when the most devastating tornado in US history hit. Jamarian Hart was among the scores of workers missing and feared dead.
It was really scary, really painful. Walls, cinder blocks, metal, wood, everything just crushing you. It was like the building, the more we waited, the building like settled in more and more on top of us. So it was like you went from being able to wiggle just a little bit at the beginning to not being able to move at all. Everything just pinning you down, just waiting on help, trying to control your breathing.
In the hope of finding more survivors, search and rescue operations continue at the factory and elsewhere in Kentucky, the worst hit state. An emotional Governor Andy Beshear said the youngest victim was just 5 months old.
Just a few more facts about those we've lost. 18 are still unidentified. Of the ones that we know, the age range is 5 months to 86 years, and 6 are younger than 18.
More than a dozen people have died in other storm-hit states. At least 30 tornadoes were reported across Arkansas, Illinois, Missouri, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Kentucky.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.